The subject is repeated figure composition. With Himalayan art, with painted examples, we have four types of composition. We have overlapping figures, we have registers, we have floating figures, and we have repeated figure composition. Repeated figure composition is where you have a central figure, and then you have in the background scores or hundreds of smaller figures that are all identical. Now, they do not have to be identical to the central large figure of the composition, but they are identical individual small figures, as if made with a carved potato stamp that some children grow up with as in elementary school. They're like stamped out figures. And they can be anything. They can be Buddhas, they can be deities like Tara, Manjushri, but they can also be teachers. You could also have a Tsongkhapa or Tongtong Gyalpo. There are examples of repeated figure compositions. Now, repeated figure compositions look like register compositions, except without the vertical and horizontal lines, without the sort of architectural structure that you would find with the true register composition paintings. Now, with repeated figure paintings, the central figure and the smaller figures are sometimes the same, and they are sometimes different. And occasionally you're going to have a split canvas, split composition, where you might have the top half of the composition filled with up to 100 small lokeshvaras, and the lower half of the composition could be filled with taras, all green tara or only white tara. So there's many, many, many different compositions like this, the makeup of them. Now, this is something that we find early. We actually find this in the 13th century, where it's Buddhas. 13th, 14th, 15th century, we do find a very limited number of repeated composition, and it's generally Shakyamuni Buddha, Amitabha or Amitayus Buddha or Medicine Buddha as the central figure, and then that same figure repeated in dozens or hundreds of smaller figures around. In the 16th century, we begin to find a little bit of variation, but still it is not a popular form of composition. Repeated figure composition does not become popular until the 17th century, and it's primarily Gelugpa, and it's primarily decorative. It's decorative in that a lot of these repeated figure paintings, compositions, are done in sets of paintings to fill temples, to fill the walls of public temples, and to make these spaces look attractive. Or they're brought out on special occasions during certain rituals to make the space attractive. So there's more to say about repeated figure composition, but this is just an introduction.